This is the only black button up I have, so this is as close to Shion as I am getting today. Now we're going to be doing another free-to-play video today. Now our free-to-play rules: you have gone through the box at least once. This means you will have at least one GR, and you will have 2 of each of the triple rares, and a playset of all of the double rares. I will try to not be including cards from outside of this box until we get to the upgrades. Now the goal of this deck is to combo multi-attack repeatedly and consistently to win the game. Now when I first read Altmile's skill, I originally thought it was really bad. In my memory of Altmile, I thought he had like a on-stride CB1 Call of Grade 2, kind of similarly to like what Chrono Jet and Blade Master do. I've learned to appreciate that he's doing something applicable to what the rest of the deck needs to be happening, which is power boosting. He says when you stride, you can call up to 2 units and place them on rear guard, and then select 2 rear guards. It doesn't have to be the 2 you called. Give them plus 5k. We will usually be giving this boost to the back row, so when we do our multi-swings, we will have boosters that can support these multiple swings, but sometimes you will be boosting units in the front row. Sometimes you will be boosting front row, but that's usually just to help them hit by themselves. He then says, after you do the boosting, you can then shuffle a grade 2 from your drop back into the deck. This is nice because this technically allows you to be more flexible with your grade 2 selection, because now you can kind of play one-ofs and such. It also means if you've accidentally gone through all of your grade 2s of a unit that you specifically need, he can put it back in the deck so you can call it back out later on in the turn. Grade 2s are the bread and butter of the deck. See, the MVP of the deck is by far Twin Sword. He has the ability of Generation Break 1 when he is boosted on attack, Counterblast 1, call a grade 2 from your deck. This is on attack, so this doesn't have to hit. So this means this is great early in the attack pattern, late in the attack pattern. Just to be able to make a multi-attack swing is very easy to do with this deck because of Twin Sword. Starlight Violinist. He allows us to on place call a grade 2 from our deck. This is a great on ride target because we can do this early on in the game. This can give us a interceptor, it can give us an attacker, or later on it can give us a booster with units like Tech Gall. He's a unit that you can kind of play around with your ratios. I'm playing it currently as a 2 of because we are kind of more limited in this free-to-play option. But as you expand upon your deck, you can kind of cut him down to 1. He is very useful though. He has a very simple ability. As soon as you stride, he is now a booster. This means that we can now superior call a booster. So this means on turns that Twin Sword can attack the Vanguard, we can then superior call a Violinist. Violinist can then call out a Tech Gall, and then we have a brand new column to attack with. This is kind of rare because usually we have already a board set up. It's just something nice to go into if you are low on resources. Knight of Fragment is a very flexible unit. He becomes an 11k attacker on Generation Break 1. He is soul charging and counter charging. This means he is a great first swing at Vanguard or a last swing at Vanguard. Hitting with him means that we can extend our plays, whether we hit with him early on or late. If we hit him early, we then have Counterblast to use for the rest of the battle phase. If we hit with him later, probably our last swing, we will then have Counterblast to use at the beginning of our next turn. Now I'm playing 2 Blaster Blade because you should have already have access to him. He's not good, obviously, because of the CB2, but just having access to a retire is very nice in this deck. It's not needed because sometimes multi-swings are more useful than retiring. I'm just putting him here as a reminder of that. Try to play units like Spirit if you can, but we'll talk about him later. The grade 1 stride fodder is very needed in this build since we have only access to 2 Altmile. Being able to get to him very easily is very needed since none of our grade 3s are very good. The Pier is very important to allow for these multi-swing turns to work. He says once per turn, which is a nerf, he used to not say that. He gives himself and the unit in front of him plus 2k when you call a grade 2. This does mean on the turn that you stride on Altmile and you place them in the back row, you gotta be smart on how you place it, because if you place him and then grade 2 in a different column, he'll boost then. So if you don't have anything in front of him, the power boost will be gone. He'll still get the power gain, but the thing in front of it will not. And then one of the AK vanilla, you can kind of put anything you want here since the rest of the commons from this set are not very good. We don't really care about playing the 10k attacker since we want grade 2s in the front row. So he's just there to help us make more magic numbers. play any other grade 1 that you'd like in the deck. I'll talk more about that in the upgrades. Like I said earlier, the grade 3s are all pretty garbage. This unit is kind of the best. He has an on attack that's kind of nice, but the striding ability, the +5, isn't really needed. Same with this guy. He's that whole on place counterblast to do something that I really like, but he's a 10k butt, so I really don't like that. 4 of the heal guardians, that's just a needed. I'm playing as our starter the grade 3 searcher. This is obviously just to make sure that we get to Altmile, which is very important, again because we only play 2 copies. Now for the strides, our 1 GR that we are playing is Gabblade. He says on hit just call grade 2. This will allow us to extend our plays. So in combination with Twin Sword, you can go rearguard into rearguard, rearguard into rearguard, Gabblade into Vanguard, calling out a Twin Blade. Twin Blade with the booster now, which has probably gotten that +5k from the Altmile stride, will then swing into the Vanguard, calling out another grade 2, either a Violinist to either call a big tech call if we need it, or a Fragment if we have a big swing that can then swing at Vanguard to then hopefully countercharge. This is a very easy thing to do. 5 attack swing, only using 1 CB. Now Samuel is a weird grade 4. He says on attack, if you have a full board and they are at 4 or less damage, counterblast 1 deal damage. This can be used very well and very poorly. What usually ends up happening is we have to put our grade 3 searcher behind him, and if we don't use him, this means we will be able to get to that full board very easily. But since our grade 3 searcher is a 4k, this means he will be swinging for about 30k, which means when you deal the damage to them and they get that +5k, if you've been swinging at their Vanguard a lot, this means it will not hit. So you have to time this very well. Something I've learned to do with him is on a kind of final turn push, going into him is very good in the turns that they only have 1 interceptor. Because what you can do is you can go rearguard into rearguard, Samuel first into Vanguard, doing the damage, taking them to 5. They will then PG because Samuel will probably be very large, and then the last rearguard can then do that final swing. If it's a Twin Sword, you get to call another card out and do this again, or even just a Fragment of being a very large unit. Being able to swing will be very easy. This is technically better than if we had given it a crit, because then they would have just PG'd it anyway, and they would be at 4 going to 5. Sadly, there are no double rares for Royal Paladins right now in the grade 4 section, so we have to play a lot of Gray Elementals, even one of the shitty 16k. Now, other budget options, like I said, there really isn't any. The other starter of Milas is really good, being able to call a grade 2, and him having a pseudo resist is really nice. I don't like it in this build because Altmile is really important to get to. I think in the upgraded build, he is a lot more applicable. I still like playing the doggo, but I totally get why people like him. I don't recommend playing the grade 0 critical until you get access to more Altmile. Even then, just one-ofs. Now moving on to upgrades. You have now access to 2 boxes, which means you have now 4 triple rares and 2 of now Saint Blow Dragon. Saint Blow is a very interesting grade 4. He does not have any need for counterblast. He just has a G Persona Blast. You need 2 of them. He gets a power buff, and if he is the second unit that you strode, he gets a crit, which makes him sound like a finisher. But he then has this later ability of he gives all of your rear guards like the pseudo resist where they can't be retired. This is really nice for the Kagero matchup. It does not work against Gear Chronicles, and it also doesn't work against locking, so that's a future thing for the next Link Joker set. This makes him weird because he's a finisher that also wants us to survive our next turn. It's kind of weird, but he's still very powerful. Like I said, he doesn't use CB, which means now we can play more of our Twin Swords. We can now have access to Blaster Blade Spirit. Great unit on place from deck CB1. Pop something. He is a 10k attacker, which means he can swing in any rearguard by himself. He obviously dies easily, but just having access to him is very nice. I could see you cutting him down even to 1 copy. I just like making sure that when I need him, I can get to him. I've also added in Ladinus. We don't have access to drawing in the deck, so having a unit that can kind of give us more chances to draw into even our PGs, I want to play. We don't need Soul in the deck as much. Obviously, Violinist needs it, especially now that we are playing the one of grade 0 critical trigger. He has this typo. It used to really confuse me of the GB1. It's not GB1. It's just as long as you have Altmile on the Vanguard. He goes to Soul, which means the grade 1 and violinists now have more things to soul blast out. Yeah, and that's kind of about it for the upgrades. We now have access to another Gab Blade. Even though I have access to 4 Samuels now, I still like the 1 Big Butt Cray Elemental just for that really big swing. Now, other upgrades, I know that a really powerful build of the deck plays the Jewel Knight package. I know nothing about Royal Paladins. I know absolutely zero about Jewel Knights. I just know that in the Japanese meta, it is a more powerful build. I know that they play the Grade 3 Legion, obviously. They play the Grade 2 Legion. This guy. What else? They play... Oh, this guy I think is the really good unit. I don't want to show any deck lists. Because I tried building it. I couldn't get the ratios correct. It just always seemed like I'd have a Jewel Knight. Now, just some general tips for piloting the deck. Twin Sword needs a boost, so always remember that. Don't ever place him without a booster, and don't ever swing with him without boosting. Timeouts happen a lot with the deck. It can be kind of hard to pilot in that way, so I had to turn off animations, which wasn't fun. I really like animations. Combos can be a little bit big brain at first, but the more you play it, the more you kind of learn, like, okay, at these moments I like Twin Blade, at these moments I like Violence, at these moments I like Fragment. Oh, on these turns, retiring is more useful, so go get Spirit. But with that said, almost every game I misplay, at some point I like call something, I'm like, wait, I didn't need to do that. Oh wait, I swung wrong. Like, because attack patterns are really important as well. Now, the gameplay footage I'm going to show you is not the best game. It is more just kind of show mistakes can be made, interesting strides can happen, and just kind of how it feels to play the deck. Like I said, not the greatest gameplay, but I think it's interesting, so I'm going to show that. Okay, so this is against a Gears player. In my opening hand, I do not have a Grade 3, which is going to be very important to me, so I'm going to be shuffling almost everything back. I have the Stride fodder, so I know I can go get him if I need it. I do top deck into... I do mulligan into the Altmile, so I don't really need to worry about my riding. So I do sadly have to ride the Stride fodder, but I'm not too upset because I did draw into a second Altmile. I always place the doggo behind Vanguard. This is really important because you don't want him behind your rearguards because your rearguards need to have a really big swing, so having the 4K can be a real hindrance more than a boost. He is taking me to 2. Since he has a rearguard, I'm going to be calling the Violinist just to call out an additional Grade 2 to then swing at. I then check my hand and remember I have quite a lot of Grade 2s already, so I think I'm going to go get the Tech Gall just to call out for a later turn. Now remember that Fragment only can countercharge on GB1, so early game he isn't going to be doing much, so I'm just going to put him out front just to block for the turn. So that's what I mean by this isn't the greatest gameplay because he's obviously kind of playing the budget deck. That's okay for now. That's okay for now. Gonna get up to the Altmile. I'm then deciding, do I go for the Gab Blade or the Samuel? Since I did not need to use the doggo to then go look for a Grade 3, that's another rearguard I have access to, so I think the Samuel is going to be smart here. Now to decide what to call out. I think I want the Violinist and the Grade 1, just so then I will have powerful boosters for these combos. See, this is where I misplayed. You'll see in a second I should have boosted the dog, because what's going to happen is he's going to become quite large because he doesn't have any interceptors, so I'm going to be swinging a lot at Vanguard right now. Now since the Violinist is out, I'm going to be ditching the Blaster since him being called isn't going to do much for me. And then I'm going to swing with Fragment to then get the counter courage that I need to make sure I can do my combos. Violinist boosted, it's plenty big. And see, this is what I mean by a misplayed. I should have known this was going to happen, because now what's going to happen when I swing with him is I'm going to use his ability to then give him the damage, but this gives him plus 5k obviously, so now I have to hope to hit a trigger. I'm lucky here. Lucky isn't good. And it doesn't really matter because he ends up healing twice this turn. I still was able to push him. That's 2 less heal guards he's going to have access to. And yeah, he doesn't stride, so that feels bad as his opponent. He still does get a tuck, so I don't feel too bad, I guess. He's going to be swinging at me twice, so he's going to be taking me to 5 easily this turn. See, now, again, he is now at 4 damage. This means I can either call Gabblade and hit him early with that. But if I'm going to be swinging early with my Vanguard, I want to be swinging with Samuel, I think. So I'm going to go for Samuel again. Now, I don't have 2 grade 2s to call out, but I will be calling out an Altmile. Just so then when I do the Twin Blade thing, it's not a big deal. I should boost the Twin Sword and the Tech Gall. I think that's what I'm going to do. Yep, so now I'm going to be tucking in the Blaster Spirit. I'm going to swing early with the Samuel, just so then I can give him that damage. Because my right column is now at 21, which is going to hit over perfect numbers, even with that defensive trigger he hit. I should boost the Tech Gall with this trigger. Yep, so we're going to heal again. See, this is in my head. I should have been boosting Samuel just to then hit over those G guards. But then again, this would be blocked anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Now, I think I'm going to go for the Fragment here just to have that 11k base. Yep, I am. Yep, so he hits that PG. Yep. No PG. And no more heals. Like I said, I feel bad that he didn't stride. But then again, he did call a grade 3. We're both playing budget decks at the end of it. Now, my final thoughts for the deck is I haven't made a Royal Paladin deck since Galahad. You know, like the ride chain dude. VP farmers will know. I actually really enjoyed this, like a lot. I've been playing it more than years, and that's not because I'm just doing it for the video. It's actually really fun to kind of plan out these really strategic lines of play. The combos are simple enough, like caveman brains like mine can still comprehend the goals that they have, but still feel challenged to try to get better and better with the deck, and I really like that. Yeah, so once he becomes a VP reward later on this month, I look forward to kind of seeing people start playing with him a little bit more. I know he's kind of a little janky right now, but I think he'll have his day. If you're a fan of Knights, I have some triple rare sleeves up still. Follow Triple Rare and me if you want on the Twitters. Yeah, I never know how to end these. That's all I got.